they can hack your mind, and so your thoughts are no longer your property.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion.
We're training, we added these instructions to our raters, and we've updated our classifiers, and we are working to understand, identify that with machine learning, and then to push that down. And then we're increasing our authoritative news. We're doing that with things like a breaking news shelf. We're triggering it in the US, in France, in the UK, and more countries coming soon. Where we have sources that come from reputable sources, we work with Google News on that to define what those reputable sources are.
A community rates low on an information scale when the press, radio, and other channels of communication are controlled by only a few people, and when citizens have to accept what they're told. In communities of this kind, despotism stands a good chance. See how community trains its teachers.
people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks. This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
There's been lots of questions. The government is not now, nor will we be supporting a system that requires Americans to carry a credential. There will be no federal vaccinations database and no federal mandate requiring everyone to obtain a single vaccination. Cover a range of topics of mutual interest, everything from COVID-19 and our efforts to address the global pandemic.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory. It's like I don't think the mask has to be mandatory nationwide. I don't think it should be mandatory. I don't think the mask has to be mandatory nationwide.
Build back better than before.
Useless! Useless!
Build it back better.
These pandemic politics are making people sick. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. This is not about freedom, personal choice. So, time for waiting is over. Vaccinate your workforce. But our patience is wearing thin.
Useless! Useless!
No federal vaccinations database and no federal mandate requiring everyone to obtain a single vaccination credential. Build back better than before.
Build it back better.
My plan to build back better.
All the problems have been treated in education and mental health and start to build back.
Say to build back better, we would say to really have a great reset.
Useless!
Just imagine North Korea in 20 years, when everybody has to wear a biometric bracelet which constantly monitors your blood pressure, your heart rate, your brain activity, 24 hours a day. You listen to a speech on the radio by the great leader, and they know what you actually feel. You can clap your hands and smile, but if you're angry, they know you'll be in the gulag tomorrow morning. And if we allow the emergence of such total surveillance regimes, don't think that the rich and powerful in places like Davos will be safe. In the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, what humanity basically learned to produce was all kinds of stuff, like textiles and shoes and weapons and vehicles. And this was enough for very few countries that underwent the revolution fast enough to subjugate everybody else. What we're talking about now is like a second industrial revolution, but the product this time will not be textiles or machines or vehicles or even weapons. The product this time will be humans themselves. We're basically learning to produce bodies and minds. Bodies and minds are going to be, I think, the two main products of the next wave of all these changes. And if there is a gap between those that know to produce bodies and minds and those that do not, then this is far greater than anything we saw before in history. And this time, if you're not part of the revolution fast enough, then you probably become extinct. Once you know how to produce bodies and brains and minds, so cheap labor in Africa or South Asia or wherever, it simply counts for nothing. And again, I think that the biggest question, maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades, will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food for everybody. The problem is more boredom. What to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless? My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
Please welcome the President of the United States.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They promote authoritarian leaders, and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country. Fan the flames of political violence.
Just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
We, the people, are the true heirs of the American experiment that began more than 2 centuries ago. We, the people, have burning inside of each of us the flame of liberty that was lit here at Independence Hall.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels. That this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
The Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you put back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
An idea unique among nations. That in America, we're all created equal.
A voter who
is just trying to figure out, as I said, how to take care of their family, put 3 squares on the table, stay safe, be able to pay the mortgage or the rent, is becoming much more informed on the motives of some of the political players and the political parties. And I think that they are not going to be as susceptible to believing some of the outlandish things that have been said and continue to be said.
Because this is about the investment in our communities, which have historically been divested.
One that I'm actively engaged in advocacy for, is the reduction of really truly talking about the reduction of our NYPD budget and defunding a $6 billion NYPD budget.
This model of saying, you know, in many cities in America, over 1/3 of their city budget goes to police. So we have to have this conversation. What are we doing?
The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people. So my generic point is that
we agree that we can redirect some of the funding.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only do we need to defund, but we need to dismantle and start anew. Allows us to really reimagine what public safety should look like in our community.
A national lockdown, stay-at-home orders is like house arrest. It's other than slavery, which was a different kind of restraint. This is the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history.
An idea unique among nations, that in America, we're all created equal.
Biden, as a presidential candidate in 2008, you supported the border wall, saying, unlike most Democrats, I voted for 700 miles of fence. This is what you said. Then you served as vice president in an administration that deported 3 million people, the most ever in U.S. history. Did you do anything to prevent those deportations? I mean, you've been asked this question before and refused to answer, so let me try it once again.
Well, democracy, where they have the greatest disparity in wealth. It's one of the wealthiest countries in the hemisphere. And because of a corrupt system that exists in Mexico, there is the 1% of the population at the top, a very small middle class, and the rest is abject poverty. Folks, I voted for a fence. I voted, unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it, I voted for 700-mile fence. But let me tell you, we can build a fence 40 stories high, unless it changes the dynamic in Mexico. And you will not like this. And punish American employers who knowingly violate the law when in fact they hire illegals. Unless you do those two things, all the rest is window dressing. Now I know I'm not supposed to say it that bluntly, but they're the facts. They're the facts. And so everything else we do is in between here. Everything else we do is at the mark. The reason why why I believe the fence is needed is not related to immigration as much as it's drugs. I'm the guy that wrote the National Crime Bill. I'm the guy that wrote the National Drug Act. I'm the guy that wrote the law that set up a drug czar. And let me tell you something, folks. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico. So I would have, as they say in the southern part of my state, I'd have an altar call with those boys. I'd have a little come to the Lord meeting. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. Many of you know about me. I've been doing this a long time. I've known every single major world leader in every country for the past 20 years. And I know a lot of them well because they came up like you.
Darius Perkins was released from prison in early July, having served 23 years of a 35-year mandatory minimum sentence for selling crack cocaine.
I try to play no different, but 35 years, I think, was hard.
Joe Biden took credit for the 1986 law that mandated the same sentence for 5 grams of crack possession as 500 grams of cocaine. And he followed that with the 1994 crime bill, which mandated federal mandatory life sentences for repeat drug offenses and encouraged U.S. states to do the same. The devastation of African-American communities through the drugs crackdown was apparent.
We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
And still, thousands remain in prison, sentenced to life without parole for non-violent offenses under legislation Joe Biden wrote and for which he passionately took credit, despite the obvious social devastation. And his recent apologies have been filled with qualifications.
And he said, we're talking about things that happened a long time ago. Barack Obama trusted me. That should be enough of a reference. No, it ain't enough.
So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street.
Get ready for
I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows.
Well, I think maybe in a couple of decades when people look back, I think they will remember the COVID crisis. This was the moment when everything became clear, that we agreed to be surveilled all the time. And maybe most importantly of all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
I don't wanna talk about the shit you wanna say. Every motherfucking thing you said is bullshit, eh? And I can't really listen to this shit anymore. You broke my fucking heart when she died in on the floor. Now I'm sitting here all alone inside my place, and I don't know what to do with this gun in my face. And now I'm asking questions with the gun in my hand. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now. I don't wanna talk about the shit you wanna say. Every motherfucking thing you said is bullshit, eh? And I can't really listen to this shit anymore. You broke my fucking heart when she died in on the floor. Now I'm sitting here all alone inside my place, and I don't know what to do with this gun in my face. And now I'm asking questions with the gun in my hand. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now, baby, I'll be better dead. Pull the trigger now.
You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit, they have free will, and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will. That's all. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. Data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. And if indeed we succeed in hacking and engineering life, this will be not just the greatest revolution in the history of humanity. This will be the greatest revolution in biology. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design. And at the same time, science may enable life. After being confined for 4 billion years to the limited realm of organic compounds, science may enable life to break out into the inorganic realm. So after 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection, we are entering the era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. So does the data about my DNA, my brain, my body, my life, does it belong to me, or to some corporation, or to the government, or perhaps to the human collective?
No, I think maybe in a couple of decades when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis, this is the moment when everything went digital. And this was the moment when everything became monitored. That we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly of all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
You know, the whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Yeah, I mean, everything is being digitalized, everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste.
They wanna sell y'all. It's called a jab in the arm, and then you're gonna fucking fall. Well, guess what? Would you fall from, fool? It's called spike protein in your body. Oh, this is what they fucking gave to you, and they said it was to save society, boo. But now everybody seems to start and get sick, and then they fall over and they start twitching and shit. That's something that they never fucking really told you. Since October 30th, 2020, fool, they knew all the side effects for this, and they never said one fucking thing about it. So now you're gonna get mad at me for facts. Well, guess what, motherfucker, you can suck on my sack. I don't really give a shit and hope you understand that my middle finger's up and that's for the whole plan.
It's not likely to go through all the tests that needs to be and the trials that are needed to be done. When we finally do, God willing, get a vaccine, who's gonna take the shot? Who's gonna take the shot? You can be the first one to say, put me, sign me up. They now say it's okay. We got to make all of it available to other experts across the nation so they can look and see.
There's this thing called informed consent. It's got a little thing called a document with all the side effects and the studies too. And you're supposed to sign a document, fool. But if you don't read it and you don't understand, they're gonna get you to sign part of the plan. So now you're gonna get stuck in the fucking system. When they don't tell you shit, then you're gonna be missing. Why wouldn't they tell you the side effects, y'all? Well, maybe that's because they hide it from y'all, and they didn't want you to know the information. Cause if you did, you wouldn't get the jab for the nation. You'd look at them in the fucking face and say, I ain't taking this shit, bitch, run a place. I don't really give a fuck what you gonna say to me, because I can fucking see that this is plainly poison me.
The 2 doses of the vaccine offer very limited protection, if any. The 3 doses with the booster, they offer reasonable protection against hospitalization and deaths. Against deaths, I think very good. And less protection against infection.
If you would like to know the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccine, search in any search engine October 30th, 2020. Steve Anderson, CBER, hit enter and go to page 16. All listed side effects from 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. On
July 4th, 2023, Independence Day, Judge Terry A. Doty of the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Louisiana entered a historic injunction against the White House and other federal officials. This injunction prevents them from, quote, urging, encouraging, pressuring, or inducing in any manner the removal, deletion, suppression, or reduction of content containing protected free speech posted on social media platforms. Judge Doty's opinion contains 82 pages of detailed factual findings, supported by 577 citations of the evidence, which is drawn from roughly 20,000 pages of the federal government's own emails and communications with social media platforms and 6 full-length depositions. In its recently filed stay motions, the government has hardly bothered to dispute any of these factual findings. The Court of Appeals has entered a, quote, temporary administrative stay of this injunction and granted expedited argument, briefing and argument on August 10th. Contrary to some recent suggestions, a temporary administrative stay is, quote, routine practice in the Fifth Circuit. That's a direct quote from the recent decision in N. Ray Abbott, and it does not reflect any judgment of the merits. Today, I want to offer 7 observations drawn from the Louisiana opinion. First, the Louisiana court found, based on overwhelming evidence, that federal officials are the cause of the censorship of the viewpoints they disfavor. The government likes to claim that social media platforms acting on their own would apply their policies and censor all this content anyway. This is demonstrably incorrect. Again and again, the Louisiana court found that the platforms would not have suppressed his speech, but for the fact that the federal officials were pushing for it. The deplatforming of Alex Berenson, the throttling of Tucker Carlson's content, the silencing of the so-called disinformation dozen, which includes Mr. Kennedy, the suppression of much of the so-called borderline, which is, quote, often true content on Facebook's platforms, the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story, and much more. All these were suppressed because of the efforts of federal officials. Second, the scope and reach of federal censorship is staggering. As the Louisiana court repeatedly found, it affects, quotes, millions of social media posts and speakers all across America. It affects virtually every American who reads, listens, engages, or posts on social media about great disputed political and social questions that federal censors have stuck their fingers into. Third, federal censorship is ongoing and it shows no signs of relenting. Federal official censorship efforts are in full swing and they're expanding to new frontiers. Left unchecked, federal censorship will reach virtually any disputed social and political question over which federal officials want to impose their power. Fourth, the Louisiana opinion shows that federal officials are most eager, most focused on silencing truthful speech and to muzzle the most influential critics of the administration and its policies. Tucker Carlson, Alex Berenson, and many others were targeted not because what they were saying was necessarily false, but because it was the most effective criticism of the narrative line that the administration was pushing at the time. Censorship is not about truth. It is about power, preserving and expanding the power of the censors and the political narratives they prefer. Fifth, federal officials are deeply intertwined with what other witnesses have called the censorship industrial complex. The Louisiana court made very detailed findings about the close connections between many federal officials and that mass surveillance and mass censorship enterprise that calls itself the Election Integrity Partnership and the Morality Project. Not just CISA officials, but the White House, State Department, and Surgeon General officials have deep ties to that enterprise. As the Louisiana court found, CISA and the EIP were completely intertwined. Sixth, federal officials don't just dictate the outcomes of specific content moderation decisions. They also directly induce changes to the content moderation policies of major social media platforms to ban disfavored viewpoints in advance. And seventh, the federal censorship enterprise has succeeded in transforming online discourse by rendering entire viewpoints virtually unspeakable on social media, which is the modern public square. This ongoing distortion of the most fundamental American freedom, the right to free speech, is intolerable under the First Amendment. Thank you.
Sleepy boy, get the fuck along. All